Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Before I could reject him. Episode 8. Alice, can you please explain what is going on? I asked Lucian, as soon as he arrived in the Jade Moon. Packs are generally very protective of their territories. It's unusual for another alpha to get inside the pack boundaries without prior notice and security clearance. There are enough ambitious alphas ready to attack and conquer other packs. But, Lucian was always welcome at Jade Moon and the Reds pack. They were family. Where is Rick? He asked quickly. Infirmary, I guess. He was suddenly calm and gently patted my cheeks. It's nothing serious. Wait. You are here because of the bodies, isn't it? Yes, but all this could be just a coincidence. You don't have to stress yourself, dear. Hey, Lucian. When did you arrive? We were interrupted by Linda, who arrived, chasing after the twins. Auntie! Clara squealed and grabbed my leg, wrapping herself around it. She had become my #1 fan ever since our ordeal. I was glad she was doing well. One of the rare trueborn witches. I picked up the squealing girl. Hello Linda, how are you doing? I smiled at my sister-in-law. Busy with these monsters as usual. They started kindergarten, did you know that? That's wonderful, I smiled at the twins, who beamed at me proudly. Why don't you catch up with the kids while I speak with Rick? We'll talk later. Lucian suggested. I nodded. Lucian, the tension was so thick in the hospital room, it was almost palpable. Rick and Bobby stood on one side near the panoramic windows. Their usual features now displayed a myriad of emotions, ranging from anger to concern. Dr. Jones, on the other hand, was looking with uncured interest at the body of the girl. She seemed to be in her teenage. It was clear that she was murdered similarly, apart from a clean cut on her neck. It was done by a claw. She has been badly violated, several times. Seems like she was raped to death. Her bites and cuts are done by whir. However, the lack of scent proves those criminals are masking their scent, which means they are organized, and they have access to masking potions. Dr. Jones concluded. I had similar bodies dumped near my pack boundaries, some days back. The autopsy reports are rather frightening. I said. Rick and Dr. Jones turned towards me curiously. These women were bitten by the whir, but they didn't turn because of it. Humans experience their first transformation, on the first full moon after being bitten. But these women were turned by injecting them with werewolf DNA. There was a gasp in the room and Rick furrowed his brows. I am sure you would get similar results in your autopsy report. This person, or a group, I am sure it's a group. They are experimenting with humans. I have no idea what they are trying to create. But, it's not looking good. They might attract attention from the law enforcement agencies and our identities could be revealed. Their DNA analysis would reveal the anomalies in their physical appearance, and it would lead the government to dig deeper. We cannot afford to compromise the secret of the shifter community now. Maybe in the future, we could reveal ourselves and all live peacefully with humans, but presently, I don't think the humans are ready to accept our existence. I added. There was a spate of silence in the room as everyone contemplated the repercussions of my words. Then Rick spoke up. But why are the bodies being dumped near the pack? And is it a recurring phenomenon? I shrugged. I have no idea. Perhaps, we need to have another alpha meet to discuss this. But what if this is the works of some alpha? Bobby interjected. He has a point. They would become alert and turn hostile. Rick added. I believe whoever is doing it wants us to find them. Throwing these bodies near our packs, not attempting to hide or bury them. It looks like the person is either challenging us or mocking us. I explained. It was difficult to contain my anger. Both due to the current situation and also because I had to face someone from my sordid past soon. We discussed further informing the Alpha Council and scheduling an Alpha meet as soon as possible. It was late evening when Alice and I returned to our home. Alice had sensed my restlessness long back, so I was prepared for her flurry of questions as soon as we were alone. Okay, now spill out. What's bothering you? You kept me blocked throughout our stay at Rick's. She had folded her arms. Today she was dressed in a peach polo neck blouse and snug jeans which covered her perfectly sculpted legs like a second skin. Ankle-high boots completed her look. Even though I couldn't see any skin, I was turned on. I walked up to her and grabbed her face. I placed my lips on hers and kissed her to my heart's content. She responded as usual and placed her arms around my neck. We kissed for what seemed like hours. When my lungs seemed to burst from the lack of oxygen, I broke the kiss and looked into wide eyes. She was breathing hard, just like me. What was that? She asked. Nothing, I hadn't kissed you all day. Because you ran off to meet your best friend, first thing in the morning, I grinned. She pouted her lips. Are you jealous of Emma now? Seriously? I laughed. No, I was just missing you and… Let's just get into bed, I whispered. No, I am not falling for your seduction tricks unless you tell me what's wrong. Is it because of those bodies? No, I released her and started pacing. It's just that I am in a dilemma. Explain. Years ago, when I had executed my dad's beta and his mate, they left behind a child. A son, to be precise. He was 11 years old then. I ignored Alice's shocked look and continued. Of course, he was spared. He was an innocent child, after all. He was sent to live with his grandparents, who lived in another pack, on the west coast. I received a letter today from Noah, that Pax Alpha that his grandparents have died and Zayden, that's the boy's name, wants to return to his home pack. Oh! She said in a subdued tone. I don't know how I should respond. He must be a grown-up now, about 21 years old, Alice mumbled. I nodded. Why does he want to return? Any specific reason? No, just that he belongs here and wants to redeem his father's image and pay for his mistake. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I replied. She wrapped her arms around me, and she held me tenderly, trying to comfort me. I rubbed my hand slowly up and down her back while she hid her face in the crook of my shoulder. I know, you must be feeling conflicted, Alice murmured, but that boy is innocent. You can't blame him for his parents' mistake. And don't feel guilty, you just punished the wrongdoers. It's not your fault that his parents are dead. I loosened my grip on her and broke the hug, forcing her to look at me. I am not feeling guilty or conflicted. That boy wants revenge, that's why wants to return. I said, looking straight into her eyes. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed in again. That's ridiculous. How can you think so? I don't see any other reason. Why would he want to return to a pack which would be hostile to him? His parents betrayed me, he would do the same. I said with finality. Lucian, that's somewhat rude. You can't assume such things. She looked perplexed. Why not? That's been my experience, I am not falling for such tricks. Anyway, I have already decided to refuse. I was just sharing this information with you. She folded her arms and sighed. You are making a mistake. Maybe, I didn't ask for your opinion. This is not a freaking democracy. My word is the law. Then why share anything with me? Just do whatever the heck you want. She replied defiantly. My anger was rising. I can't believe we are fighting over this, I sighed. Look, you won't understand how it feels. You have never been betrayed. I have. I know how it feels when the person who is supposed to protect me tries to poison my entire family. Or when my close friend, someone whom I had relied on, schemes to kill my mate. You will never understand. I snapped. The stab of pain in my chest ascertained the fact that she was hurt. I had crossed a line. You are right. I won't understand, she mumbled. Alice. I started to say, but she stopped me by raising her hand. I am tired, Lucian. I want to avoid talking. She said and walked off into the bedroom. I cursed myself. Olivia, my captors were merciless beasts, and there was only one way to survive. Cooperate with them, search for an opportunity and make a run. I was doing exactly that. Besides using my body, sometimes they used me as a serving maid. I bid my time. Watched and carefully observed my captors' routines and activities. Last week, they were agitated for some reason. A bunch of them passed by my cell, talking quietly about a raid they were planning. We were barely fed, perhaps, deliberately. Probably to control us, or my captors were simply sadists, who enjoyed starving us to death. Despite little food, I noticed that my strength had increased, my eyesight had improved immensely as well. I could see clearly in a dark cell, and my hearing was so sensitive that I could hear all the conversation. Not that my captors ever tried to maintain secrecy. They were confident of the fact that we could never leave. Maybe it was because of the abominable experimentation that had been done to me and the other women, I was not convinced. Whatever it was, I knew for certain that I was no longer human. The sound of footsteps broke my reverie and I slunk into a corner. I had used this tactic several times to avoid catching attention. Occasionally, it worked, and those monsters picked another victim. Sometimes, it didn't, and I would have to endure their violations or experiments. Whatever they fancied. As they got nearer to the heart of the cell, my acute hearing picked up an argument between the rogues. What a load of bullshit! How much longer do we need to wait? One rogue growled in anger. We wait as long as necessary, the boss knows when the appropriate time would present itself, another answered brusquely. We've been in this shithole forever. I want what was promised to us. We were promised money, numerous nonsenses, and freedom to do what we want against those privileged alphas who think they are better than us just because they were born in a higher rank, yet another broke out aloud. If the boss's claim was true, why have our attempts to breed with these female mates been a complete failure? Another continued, snidely. None of these women got knocked up. No matter how many times I did with them. The voice grumbled. I placed my hand on my mouth to stifle my scream. So, this is what they were trying to do. They were trying to breed with us and create monster babies. I was horrified. I would rather die than become their baby machine. Hey, Lucas, maybe you are shooting blanks. Another voice snorted. Shut your mouth, the first rogue continued. You all are only concerned about your money and those sniveling females. The voice growled, leading to cackles. We are soon going for the big fish, not those frail humans but the alpha females. Did you hear what that new guy said? I hope he is right. There's no challenge when all they do is whimper and cower. Human females don't give us the fight we want as werewolf do. Another interjected. Someone snickered nastily, yet, no challenge in whacking into a human who lays limply on her back. I'd rather one of the wild real wolf anytime. Laughter broke out among them. I overheard them talking of leaving on a raid, something about alphas and mates. I had no idea what those terms meant. Hey! You! Suddenly, a big man approached me as I cowered in the corner. Come on, the lab needs cleaning up. He hauled me up and dragged me out of my cell. I didn't protest and walked meekly. That was the only way to survive. Soon, I was scrubbing the blood off the lab floor. They had probably disposed of another victim. With my acute hearing, I could hear voices from the other room. Their repulsive leader, whom they called boss, was conversing with someone. Someone I had never seen before. So, are you saying my experiments have been a failure so far? Their boss said. They look like freaks. A mishmash of pieces that are neither full werewolf nor human. No, a real werewolf pack would accept them. If that's what you are aiming for. Ah! I am better than you dogs. I consider myself a scientist. My creations are stronger and more lethal than an average shifter. And there's more of us, more and more are joining me. Soon, I would be able to take over any alpha or a pack. I don't need any wolf pack. I am building one of my own. The other man snorted. And what about females? You cannot multiply without them. Your kind won't survive unless you breed pups. Or are you planning to keep changing these human criminals into your hybrids? There was a pause. About that, I am still experimenting. A woman's physiology is more complex than a male's. It will work out soon enough. Bah! You know that is a lie. Those human women cannot sustain the changes, and they are dying off. Even those omegas which you managed to capture didn't get pregnant. You require something better and stronger. Have you come here to make fun of me? No, I am here to offer you a deal. The stranger said, his voice dripping with promise. What deal? There is this alpha, She is a hybrid. A rare combination of werewolf and a witch. She would be perfect for your breeding program. I am a man of science. I do not believe in this stupid witchcraft. What makes you think I would be interested in this offer? Well, for once, you are desperate. Your minions would soon lose interest, no matter how many human ragdolls you offer them. They will turn back on you. And this is not some average. She is powerful, not to mention beautiful. Any alpha would give his right hand to possess her. Well, if she is that special, what's stopping you from claiming her? It's difficult to capture an alpha. Especially the mated ones. Their mates never leave them alone. The voice grumbled. So, what do you want me to do? Get her, of course. And what is your deal? Just revenge, he drawled. The argument continued while I wondered which new victim they were planning to pick up now. I said a silent prayer for this unknown woman. What are you doing? A voice interrupted my concentration and I started quickly scrubbing the floor. The monster who had walked into the lab grabbed my hair and forced me to stand. I stifled my scream and looked down. Just play dumb. I kept reminding myself, as the monster tore off my ragged dress. I couldn't hear the rest of the conversation, as I was being raped by the monster. Alice, I tumbled once again as Lucian hurled me onto the mat. We had been working out and training as per the daily routine. It was early, still, the gym was full of the pups who usually loitered and worked out on the other side of the mat. They had kept away their weights, equipment, and were staring at us. Damon, Catherine, Dominic, Rain, and others were standing to the side. Catherine had a frown creasing her brows. Damon's arms crossed over his big chest, as he watched us roll and tear at each other. For we weren't training anymore, this was a real fight. We did not exchange a single word since our debate the previous night, instead, we had just exchanged several glares. I attacked Lucian with a series of punches and kicks. He caught my waist and threw me on the mat again. I fell flat, cringing from the impact. It nearly broke my ribs. Tired mate? Lucian mocked from above me. His emerald eyes brimmed with annoyance and a touch of anger. In your dreams, I am just getting warmed up, I said through the gritted teeth. Lifting my leg, I kicked him in his groin. He doubled up in pain and fell back. Using this opportunity, I jumped up and hurled myself into him. We tumbled and tore at each other. Lying down on my stomach, I was forced to relinquish both hands to him. Lucian took a moment and seemed to plan his approach, or attack. Laying on top of my back, he had grabbed both my hands with his and held them tightly. Just feeling his body on mine was stimulating. And somehow, this position of being held down was more than just a little arousing. My wolf Lana was craving his touch. I heard him chuckle. I was sure he felt the same. Using all my strength, I managed to turn over and pin him below me. His muscles rippled beneath my hands. I wonder if they are going to kill each other, I heard Damon speak. This much activity might not be good for her condition, we should stop them. The tone of Catherine's reply infuriated me further. I slipped off from under him, and we circled each other. Lucian charged at me. I stepped aside at the last moment, flying out to trip him. He turned fast as lightning, grabbed my arm and went down, bringing me with him. I tried to roll free, but I could not match his size. Lucian rolled over, trapping my arm beneath him. He shifted his lower body to trap me. I twisted my body, my arm flew, smacking Lucian across the face. I managed to get to my knees and jerked up quickly, sending Lucian flying off. I was trying to scramble to my feet, but Lucian bowled me over. He landed on top of me and pinned my arms down. Lucian quickly sat on my chest, trapping my arms under him. I struggled to move, but my limbs felt heavy as lead. Green eyes stared into mine, while I panted for breath. "Are you done? Or you want more?" He smirked. I snapped. "Gladly," he grinned. "Get off me, Lucian. This isn't over," I warned. "If you wish, we can continue in the bedroom," he smiled, tracing my lips with his finger. The offer was quite appealing, but I was mad at him. "Sod off," I sneered. To my surprise, he got off, but not before whispering, "Don't create a scene here. The pack is watching," in my ears. I hobbled and sat down on the nearby couch as Catherine and Rain rushed by my side. "What was that?" Rain asked, still dumbfounded. I glanced at Lucian, who seemed to be in profound discussion with his betas. He had not apologized for his rather harsh words yet, and it was driving me nuts. "Nothing, we were just sparring," I mumbled. "I thought you would kill each other," Rain said, shrugging. Catherine had a concerned look, while I rolled my eyes. "I could never hurt Lucian." "Is there a problem, Madame Luna? Are you mad at the Alpha?" Catherine asked. "He was mean to me," I said, wiping my sweaty brows. Rain's eyes had grown round like saucers. "What happened?" "I will tell you about it during breakfast." "You are not having breakfast with Alpha." Catherine's tone was alarmed. "No." Thankfully, she didn't pry further. We were seated in the cafeteria, though I was far from hungry and poked into my scrambled eggs absent-mindedly. "Well?" Catherine asked, looking at me expectantly. "I don't know where to start. I am uncertain if you are aware. But, your previous beta, Killian's son, wants to return to the Crimson Shadow Pack. Lucian is against it, and we had a little argument about it last night." She looked down and seemed to ponder for a while. "I remember Zayden, Killian, and Zena's son. He was a bright boy. Always, up to some mischief. He spent most of his time up in the treehouse at his house. You can still see it. Though I don't think Damon or Rain use it much. He was a lonely boy, his parents never had the time for him." Catherine was talking softly as if talking to herself. She had a slight smile while reminiscing the old days. My curiosity was piquing. Zena was busy with her parties and shopping. I don't think she was attached to the boy. They were too self-centered to care for anyone else. The pack members shunned the entire family because they hated Killian and Zena. Zayden had no friends, only enemies. After their execution, Zayden was sent to live with his maternal grandmother. It was good for him. He would have been possibly killed by the pack members otherwise. Catherine finished talking, and I could see traces of teardrops in her eyes. I held her hand to comfort her. "Were you fond of him?" I asked. "You can say so," he often dropped in for breakfast and dinner at my place. I don't know why he wants to return. Well, according to Lucian, he wants to redeem and pay for his parents' mistakes. Catherine scoffed. Silly boy. The pack doesn't forgive traitors easily. As a traitor's son, he would have a very hard time here. Alpha is right. He should never come back. As a Luna, you must support his decision. He is already on the edge due to these bodies getting discovered, and upcoming beta training. I bit my lips. I am not mad over his decision, I didn't like the way he talked to me. He said I will never understand what a betrayal feels like because I have never experienced it. I huffed, folding my arms. Catherine smiled. I am sure he just said that in anger. Lucian adores you. He would never hurt you. The entire pack felt Savannah's betrayal, but for Lucian, it was harder. I raised an eyebrow. See, he was betrayed by Killian, the beta was supposed to be his protector. Then Savannah, one of his closest friends. It's a miracle that he is still sane and not turned into a paranoid nervous wreck. He also said that Zayden is coming back for revenge. Hence Lucian is going to refuse his application, I added. A pained look appeared on Catherine's face. I don't know what to say. As my alpha, I cannot defy him. He must have his reasons. We must understand his turmoil. Alpha Lucian didn't get to be the respected alpha of a large pack by lack of planning. There's more to him than just brute strength, Catherine said in an almost chastising way. Yes, thank you for reminding me, I drawled, catching her tone. But from your description, this young man seems harmless. Don't you think he should be given a chance? Do you think Zayden would want revenge? That's up to the Alpha to decide. We must not question his decision. Zayden has been away for more than a decade. People change. She was right. Perhaps, I was being a sentimental fool. So, you must talk to Lucian and clear things up. A dispute between the Alpha and Luna is never good for the pack. I don't want pack members gossiping behind your pack. Don't they already gossip? I chuckled. They only say good things about you, Alice. I want it to remain so. With nothing much to discuss further, I returned home. I was still mad at Lucian though, I would have relented, if he would have forcibly carried me, tied me up and convinced me. I did not see Lucian anywhere in the house, I had not showered back in the gym. Hence, craving to get rid of my sweat and give some relief to my aching body, I walked into our huge and opulent bathroom for a shower. But my eyes popped open in surprise. Lucian had a thing for large bathrooms. Hence, our bathroom was huge with pedestal sinks and fancy-looking faucets on one side. A bidet, a toilet, and an enclosed shower stood on the other corner. In the center stood a sizable luxury whirlpool tub, with white marble floors that gleamed dully in the dim light. The tiled walls were pure white and edged with accents of blue. A low mahogany bench held white fluffy-looking towels across the room, while potted plants were placed strategically to further enhance the spa-like atmosphere. However, what surprised me though was the rows of candles lighted around the room, scattering of rose petals in the tub, and scented oil in the water. I was so shocked, I didn't notice Lucian standing near the tub with a satisfied smile. What is all this? I asked, taking in the ambience. "This is your bath, my dear," Lucian grinned at me. "A shower would have been fine, but this is not too bad." I walked around the tub, surveying his handiwork. When did he do all this? The gently steaming, fragrant water looked so inviting that I wanted to soak right in. "So, what's the occasion? What did I do to deserve such pampering?" I turned my head and teasingly asked. He softly growled as if in reprimand and replied, "What gives you the idea that you need to do something to get pampered? Where did you get the candles and the rose petals? Not that I do not appreciate the gesture, but you have never done this before." "What can I say?" he smiled, "you bring out the romantic in me." I scoffed. "You're so full of crap." Lucian lost his smile and frowned. "I know you are pissed off." I was rather rude. "I just wanted to apologize for my behavior. I can't see you hurt, and I don't like fighting with you." I wasn't expecting an apology, and I was taken aback when it happened. "It wasn't your fault. I should not have defied your decision. Even though I disagree with it. Will you forgive me?" He smiled and took my hands. He gently lifted each to his lips and tenderly kissed the knuckles. Once he was done, he turned my hands over and kissed lingeringly in the center while looking at me with his gorgeous green eyes. He then entwined our fingers together. "Please don't fight with me," he whispered. I was already melting. That's the thing with mate bonds. It's hard to stay angry with your mate. Lana, my wolf, was already pissed off. Now, she was taking over. I growled and grabbed his face, pulling him down to kiss him. Holding his nape, I sucked on his lower lips. The kiss was gentle as he licked and nipped at my bottom lips, but not for long. Hungrily, he tilted my head and gently urged my mouth to part for his tongue. My moan was immediately smothered under his mouth as he quickly inserted his tongue. He slanted his mouth and tilted my jaw to get a better angle, and continued to ravish me. His left hand gently cradled the back of my head, while his right hand freely roamed and caressed my back and hips. He cupped and squeezed me as he pulled me closer to him. His hands reached the hem of my tee, and he started pushing in over my body. When we moved apart to get rid of my tee, I was breathless. "Wait." He smiled when I tried to kiss him again. He got rid of his tee as well, then proceeded to strip me off completely. When he slowly lowered me in the jacuzzi, I couldn't help moaning in appreciation. "Join me," I said, as he immediately joins. "Do you like it?" he whispered. I sighed, luxuriating in his ministrations. "I need you. My body is crying out to be possessed by you. It's driving me crazy," I rambled. "Is it?" he purred in my ear. I barely had time to nod my head in affirmation when Lucian started to lick and suck his mate mark on my neck. I was lost to the fervent pleasure coursing through my body. Every nerve ending in me pulsed in tandem with his sucking on my neck. The rising steam from the tub combined with the heat which was pouring out from us drove me into overdrive. The bubbling water combined with his skillful mouth was driving me crazy. "You are so beautiful in your arousal, Alice," he rasped. "Your scent drives me wild with the need to possess you." "Lucian, please stop teasing me," I begged. "Are you okay?" He spoke softly as he kissed my forehead and nuzzled my hair. I guess we should fight more often, I mumbled. I heard his soft chuckle. Why so? The makeup is excellent, I replied. We can still have X without the fight, of course. He replied, caressing my hair. I agreed with him. Do you want me to stop questioning you and obey your every command? I can try to be submissive. If that's what you want. No, I want you to be challenging and spunky. What's the fun in a submissive mate? He said, kissing my forehead. Lucian, the alphas of the 30 packs sat around the long table, flanked by their enforcers who stood by the walls. The conference room was brimming with testosterone. Tension resounded inside the room, as everyone digested what the aftermath of the horrendous crime would do to the fragile peace among the werewolf communities. Not to mention the risk of getting discovered. One thing was apparent to everyone in the room, though: it was crucial they find the were responsible, or the relative peace they had for the past 15 years would start breaking down. Every eye zoomed in on me. Since I was the one who called the meeting, they wanted to hear me answer questions that most of them thought of but hesitated to ask. I had just narrated the discovery of anonymous bodies near the pack lands. It's quite bold them to dump the bodies on my land, I nodded towards Rick, and Rick's pack territory. It sends a clear message to us. I arrived at the same conclusion, my friend. Rick agreed. They are not very subtle with their ploy to make us believe that it's just human murders. He looked at each alpha present at the table. Each stoic face showed strained alertness. How can we ensure that this is not a personal vendetta meant to strike at you? Asked the Alpha Kaiser. I stared at him. What exactly do you mean? Kaiser had always irked me. True, he had the right to question, but disregarding the threat to werewolves generally represented incompetence and arrogance. Not to mention dragging my mate into it was necessary. Maybe someone is targeting your pack, because of what happened a year ago. Your mate? What about my mate? I growled in anger. Well, maybe it's some new group targeting her. I seethed in anger. Rick and his team growled at Kaiser. We don't know that yet. For all we know, these women were genetically tampered with, they were not turned in a normal way. As alphas, it's our job to secure, protect, and help our people to prosper and live in this modern world without fear of being hunted and killed senselessly. If these bodies get in the hands of humans, our identity would be at stake. So, I would request the Alpha Council to take this threat seriously. I said. What do we know about these women? Who were they? Michelson asked. I requested my sources in the FBI to run a query on them. All three lived alone, with no families. One of them was a stripper. These women were dregs of the society, with barely any family or attachment. They have not even been reported missing yet. Though some of their acquaintances last saw them months ago. Whoever is this person, he is choosing his victims carefully. But, I still don't see a direct threat to our packs, Kaiser said. Are you willing to pay the price if and when they attack your people? Rick queried, will you do nothing and wait for them to take it as weakness and strike at you? Rick's voice rang with vehemence. He was infuriated. He had almost lost his daughter. Some alphas were regarding each other already with suspicion and distrust. Everyone was on edge. As of now, only Rick and my pack had received those bodies. It would be foolish to wait passively for a bigger attack or incident to happen. No one had a clue how widespread this crime was. We all needed to work together to end the killings. Kaiser was a new alpha, taking over from his father, the alpha of Lyman's Howl Pack. He was from the West Coast, and they remained relatively untouched by Regina's plans last year. Hence, he didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. I found him smug and arrogant. Kaiser and Rick glared at each other. You dare suggest that we do not care for the welfare of our wars? I, for one, do not want to have my pack vulnerable to attack, nor do I want an all-out war to break out if we can avoid it. What I do not condemn, is being manipulated into getting involved in your crusade. Kaiser stood up in agitation. The tension in the room increased as the two alphas faced off. The enforcers around their alphas prepared themselves for any possible physical confrontations. Bodies taut, some had partially shifted. Hostility mounted as their animal halves bristled with aggression. I rolled my eyes. This was the problem with wolves. They easily gave in to their beasts, if not kept in check. A good alpha strives for peace at all times with a clear mind. However, a great alpha leads by wisdom and diplomacy. Keeping my voice calm, I cut through the thick tension in the room. No one in this room questions your leadership, my friend Kaiser. Calm yourself. We are here to seek a peaceful alliance over the matter at hand. He looked directly at me and Rick. Rick sat back in his chair. The only purpose of holding this conference is, I want to inform all the alphas of what is happening and not leave you in the dark about these recent developments. I want all of you to keep an eye on your packs, and inform the council of any suspicious activities. Do you have any questions, concerns? Ask me now. I looked around at all the 30 faces. Why are we getting involved in human affairs? Let the cops sort it out. A random alpha said. And let them discover the genetic anomalies? To safeguard our species, we have to handle it. If the war involved continued to attack and murder humans, then we would be in danger of exposure. That would spell disaster for us, as the humans would more likely take arms and hunt us all. I answered. A grim understanding resonated throughout the hall. What do we need to do? As we have no leads so far. Kaiser asked again. That's why we have to look for leads. If we cannot work together and agree on how to deal with these attacks, then, our peace treaty is already nearly total breakdown. I leaned forward in earnest appeal to them. We have worked hard together to bring peace and unite all packs under our cumulative leadership. Are you willing to work together for the apprehension of the perpetrators of these vile crimes? The repercussion of the treaty breaking down would be disastrous. Open wars would be waged and bloodshed like never seen before would commence. The wisdom of working together was not lost on the alphas, but being half animal, they were prone to aggression when they felt threatened. Cooler heads needed to reign at this moment. After a time of prolonged silence, one by one, the alphas nodded their head in agreement. They all agreed that they were not going to wait for further escalation. Even Kaiser reluctantly nodded his head. Once the alphas agreed, we proceeded to plan the task item. I propose that we form a task force involving one of each of our betas. Their sole task would be to investigate and determine who perpetrated these crimes. Any lead, any evidence, will be disclosed to the Council of Alphas. I paused. We know that the bodies were left carelessly. There was no indication of an attempt to hide or bury their crime. Nothing was found on or near the bodies that can point us to the villains. What it does indicate though is that it was meticulously planned and flawlessly orchestrated. I continued gravely, I doubt that this is the work of one individual. The crimes are too perfect. My wolf was riled up at the thought of helpless women kidnapped and raped in captivity. We are looking at a group of werewolves who have a leader who is kidnapping and keeping a harem of human women. There could be male victims as well. We don't know yet. I concluded. With the alphas busy discussing over the task force, I opened my bond with Alice. She seemed to be running. I sensed her slight panic. My wolf was, suddenly, alert. I looked at my betas, they sensed my panic, and they got ready to obey my next command. I had no time to explain. Immediately, we dashed out of the conference room. My mate was in danger. Alice, Eliza! Run back with the girls! I screamed at Eliza. But madam! Don't argue, we can't let them have our girls, Eliza and Peter. Run back with the girls. Roger and I will stop these brutes until the warriors arrive. It was a survival skill training day for the newly shifted girls of the Pax High School. I had accompanied Eliza, along with Beta Roger and another warrior wolf, to this wilderness, near the edge of the campus. The 10 juvenile girls were pretty excited about the training. They had shifted and ran around in circles, getting familiar with their new wolves. It was a lovely day and everything was going on fine. We were already on our way back when suddenly we were surrounded by the wolves. My priority was to safeguard the girls. They were very young and untrained. Hence, I commanded Eliza and the warrior wolf to run back while Roger and I kept the attackers at bay. Roger and I faced off with 4 attackers each, biting and whirling in a series of motions designed to get over them. I thanked Luna when Lucian responded to my mental link. We were already bloodied from shallow cuts and bites but determined to hold them off until Lucian and the rest of the betas arrived. On the other side of the skirmish, I studied the 2 wolves accosting me. They were circling and searching for a vulnerable spot where they could launch their offensive. I backed into a big tree, making it hard for the 2 to get behind me. As they neared, I pounced on the wolf who ventured close to me. With hackles raised, I growled and bared my teeth. Biting hard on the wolf's left leg, I pressed hard. The other wolf grabbed my side, trying to dislodge me. I kept on holding until I tasted blood. The injured wolf whirled away, I jumped and evaded the other wolf who snapped at my neck. Eyeing the running juvenile girls and Eliza, I saw a few rouges chasing them. I prayed that the warriors arrive quickly. Lucian would not be able to reach them on time from the city. No matter how hard he tried. Alice, don't wait for the warriors. Just run, and save yourself. Lucian said in my mind. I eyed my opponents and tried to come up with a plan to defend myself. One was limping, but still trying to get at me. They crowded me into the tree. The uninjured one lunged and swiped his claws at my head. Ducking, I sidestepped and ran into the injured one, who promptly barreled into me. Falling on my sides, I pushed with my hind legs as the other wolf straddled me, raking his vulnerable underbelly with my claw. The wolf on top of me clamped its jaw on my shoulder. The searing pain made me yelp, I struggled to dislodge him. Biting its ears, I pulled and yanked without much result. He was stronger than me. Suddenly, a grey wolf threw himself on top of the wolf that had me in its grip. He wasn't from my pack. I was sure of it. He smelled different. I looked as he punctured the brute's neck and squeezed tightly. Viciously shaking his head, he twisted and broke the other wolf's neck. The rogue wolves fighting with Roger took advantage of his vulnerable flank and surrounded us. The excruciating pain in my shoulder was making me lightheaded. I was vaguely aware that the unknown grey wolf pulled off the dead wolf away from me. Now I was fully shielded by the grey wolf, who was covering my body, deflecting the attacks and snapping his jaws at whatever he could reach. I sensed that he was badly hurt but continued to protect me valiantly. Roger, my other beta, was in a brutal fight with the other rouges. We could not hold them for long. My torn shoulder was bleeding profusely. I'm almost there, Alice. I can feel your pain. How badly are you hurt? Concern and worry laced Lucian's voice. I'll live. It's the others I am worried about, they have sustained so many bites. I was delirious, but I stubbornly held on to consciousness. I lifted my head from the ground and nudged the grey wolf off me. My head swam, as I groggily stood and backed into the tree behind me. The grey wolf shook itself and to my surprise bowed down in submissions. I had no time to ponder on this gesture and wondered about his identity, as the attackers were relentless, and we were still outnumbered. The wolves kept circling us, looking for any opening to get to me. The grey wolf faltered and staggered on his hind legs. 3 wolves immediately converged on him. One latched its giant jaws on his neck and pulled him down. I howled in anger, pushed myself off the tree and started for the grey wolf. Madame Luna, we have arrived, please stay back. Those words were like music to my ears. All 3 wolves flew in the air as if swatted by a giant hand. Lucian's enforcement had arrived, and they were taking on the rogues. Madame Luna, are you okay? Roger asked me as he limped towards men with another warrior wolf. I'm fine. Help that grey wolf. He saved my life, I urged them. I crouched over the grey wolf's unmoving body. I could barely see him breathe. Nudging him with my snout, I tried to wake him. He remained unresponsive. The rouges were retreating, and soon the remaining rouges ran off, leaving behind their dead comrades. A little panicked, I promptly shifted and yelled, "Come here! Help me carry him back to the pack!" I commanded the betas and the warriors. I mentally searched for Eliza to ask their whereabouts. "We are safe, Madame Luna, they didn't get any of our girls," she responded. I sighed with relief. I am safe, Lucian, it's all over. I projected to him. I am sorry, I could not be there for you, Alice. He said, through the mental link. I am fine, Lucian, you don't have to be sorry. I responded. How is he? I asked gravely, brows furrowed in concern, while I looked down at the grey wolf, in the infirmary. He had shifted back into his human form. He was young, maybe around 20. He was tall and well-built, with a handsome face. A flop of blonde hair fell on the forehead. Probably, a beta, I thought. He looked pale. I noticed the long jagged tear on his neck which was starting to scar over, a stark reminder that this stranger almost died trying to save my life. "He's hurt badly," the pack doctor said, running his eyes on the boy's body. I still bore some battle wounds, but most had closed and healed after I shifted. I let myself out so that the doctors would patch him up. Likewise, I had just closed the door of his room when the familiar scent engulfed me. "Alice!" I heard Lucian's voice. And the next moment I was swallowed in his arms. He was so enraged that he could barely speak. I let him sniff my neck and lick my mark to calm his nerves. Slowly, he was steady enough to free me. "What happened before I got here?" he asked me as soon as we had broken apart. I explained everything to Lucian. "Where is that wolf?" Lucian asked, narrowing his eyes. "I brought him to the infirmary. Dr. Armand is looking after him." Lucian didn't listen any further and firmly opened the door. "He saved my life, I couldn't leave him to die," I said, looking down at the unconscious boy. Lucian's face has hardened into a mask. "It's him," he muttered. "What's wrong? You know this man?" I asked, puzzled. "Yes, he is Zayden," Lucian whispered. "Alice Zayden? He is Zayden?" I asked, staring at the unconscious boy. "What was he doing in our area? He is not supposed to be here." Lucian was eyeing him suspiciously. "I don't know, we can investigate once Zayden is awake. If he hadn't been there, I might not have survived," I insisted. Lucian looked at me pointedly. I knew he wasn't convinced. "Maybe he was with them, and it's all part of the conspiracy. Save your life, gain our trust, infiltrate the pack and, then God knows what he wants to achieve," Lucian muttered. That was very much possible. But the way he defended me, my heart refused to believe that as a ruse. However, I couldn't afford to be an emotional fool. That would put the pack's safety at risk. "You might be right, but he is injured. We can't throw him out over a hunch. We can't let him stay and endanger our pack, either," Lucian retorted. "I reckon he can't do much if he is under surveillance frequently. Besides, he is injured. We might get some information about those rogues if you interrogate him," I added. Lucian seemed to ponder for a few minutes. "You are right, it would be cruel to throw him out in this condition anyway. We have a bigger threat looming, the rogues." After making sure that Zayden was being taken care of in the pack's clinic, and the dead bodies of the rogues taken down into the basement for autopsy, Lucian and I went to the pack house. He had been holding on to my waist tightly, as if afraid to let go. I was looking at Lucian, while he paced back and forth. The attack had ruffled many feathers, shattering the short period of peaceful existence we had been enjoying. "Aren't you going to at least sit down? I'm getting a crick in my neck looking up at you," I grumbled. My shoulder was still a bit sore, but I had been through worse. This was nothing compared to that. He stopped pacing and plopped down next to me. "Well, we need to strategize on covering more areas in hunting the rogues. I thought we were done with them, but they don't seem to die." Lucian's voice grew taut with frustration. "We can only hope that Luna will show favor by guiding us to find them." I placed my hand on his shoulder, trying to soothe him, as he took short breaths to calm himself. "Alpha, you have a call, it's urgent," Damon suddenly interrupted. Lucian took the phone, and as he conversed, his face hardened as if carved in marble. No glimmer of emotion showed in his face or eyes. If I were not intimately connected to him, I would not have realized that something was bothering him. It was a conference call from other alphas. We learned that it wasn't a stray attack. A coordinated attack was launched on several other packs. Rogues had launched similar attacks around the same time on numerous major packs. Most of the female mates of the other alphas were hunted. They did not single out our pack, as assumed. All large packs were targeted, including Jade Moon and the Reds. Oh no! Lenora and Linda. Are they okay? I asked, panicked. Yeah, thank Luna that none of the mates was taken or killed, Lucian said grimly. How did they manage to learn the schedules kept by the mated female alphas? I gasped. They were aware that most alphas would be away at the conference, and they planned the attack at exactly that moment, Damon added. It means they are watching all the packs, and they have informers in all of them, Peter added. It also means they were not after our girls, they were after you, Alice, Lucian announced. His fist was clenched in anger. This had never happened before. Rogues rarely targeted alpha females. They were stronger, usually well protected, and their mates would go berserk if anything happened to them. Whoever was leading this band of rouges was either powerful or crazy. Have we captured anyone alive? Lucian turned towards his betas. Unfortunately, all the rogues were dead and a handful of the betas were injured, Peter reported. Maybe other packs would have captured a few of them alive, you can ask them, I said. Good point. I will check with them. Lucian replied. Meanwhile, security is going back to the Z level. Which means you have to stay in. He gave me a warning look. I rolled my eyes. I understand, Lucian, I won't defy you. You can relax. Good. He replied. For the next hour, the phones rang non-stop. Once, Lucian got busy over the security details and spoke with the other alphas. I decided to check on the girls who had narrowly escaped being kidnapped, rather, I escaped being kidnapped. The schoolhouse was full of excited chatter as I walked towards it. This is where the girls were stationed, they were being treated for minor injuries. They suddenly went silent as I walked in. You can continue chatting, I am not your teacher. I joked, trying to dispel the atmosphere. Some of them giggled, which gave me a sense of relief. At least they were not traumatized. I took one of the seats and said to them. You all were exceptionally brave today, and followed the instructions. I am proud of you all. The girls smiled bashfully. Thank you, Madame Luna, for saving us. In our previous pack, no one would have saved us. The men were all bad. One of the girls who looked barely 15 said aloud. Don't know why I felt a lump in my throat before hugging her tightly and saying, I'll always save you, Cupcake. What happened at their old pack seems to have affected many other girls in ways unimaginable. I couldn't even imagine what they went through. I needed to speak with a professional counselor. Furthermore, I spent the rest of the time with the girls until I was informed by an Omega that Zayden had woken up. I slid through the hospital doors and walked towards Zayden's room. Brilliant blue eyes greeted me as soon as I entered. He was sitting up in bed. Apart from the scar on his neck, he was a pretty boy. Pretty, like younger, taller, and beefed up Brad Pitt. He smiled at me as I entered. Hi, I am Alice, Luna of the pack. How are you feeling now? I asked, after introducing myself. I am fine, Madam Luna, thanks for saving my life. I am Zayden Smith, I guess you already know who I am. His deep voice rumbled. Thanks to you, had you not arrived on time, things might have turned worse. I smiled back at him. I smell distrusts, Zayden commented. You want to know what was I doing in your area, and am I in cohort with the rogues? I was a little surprised at his candor. Yes, however, you are still weak. I want to avoid interrogating an injured man. I am fine, Madam Luna. I am uncertain if you are aware, but I had sent 3 letters and several messages to Alpha Lucian. When everything failed, I decided to visit Crimson Shadow and meet him myself. It was sheer coincidence that I witnessed the attack. I had to help. My story might seem far-fetched, but that is the truth. He said simply. It was hard to say that I didn't believe him. Maybe Lucian would pry out the truth later. But for now, I had to be diplomatic. Ah. That explains it. I commented. You don't believe me, he said in response. He looked disappointed. I had a sudden urge to comfort him, believe him. What was wrong with me? Trust is like respect, it has to be earned, I replied. Wise words from a wise woman, fair enough. He smiled. For the next many minutes, we calmly discussed his injuries, how he was healing and the ways we could catch and torture the rogues. It turned out the conversation was very much to his liking, he had some great ideas. Anyone who dares to touch my pack members, I would love to kick their teeth out, hang them from a silver chain and slowly flay them, I told him as I seethed in anger at the memory of those terrified girls. A perfectly fine idea, madam, Zayden said, smiling. I'll help you. Lucian Daniel and I stood facing the one-way mirror. His betas had been constantly interrogating those rogue wolves since they regained consciousness. Daniel's pack was one of those lucky ones who had captured a few of these rogues alive. I had arrived at the Reds as soon as I got the news. I was curious to get a good look at them. The betas took turns beating them up again and again, but they remained tight-lipped, stubborn, and grinned mockingly at them. Daniel had become so frustrated by their constant defiance, that he finally ordered them to be chained. The rogues were dangling from the ceiling in solid silver manacles. The silver burned their skin and drained their strength, keeping their bodies from healing and regenerating. Splotches of bruises marred their skins, blood oozed freely from cuts and gashes they sustained from their beatings. They deserved worse, but he wanted to avoid killing them yet. We had to keep them alive to get information about their leader. Just thinking of what happened yesterday made me want to go in there and kill them all. My wolf had the same idea. Unfortunately, finding their leader was more important than personal gain, before the violence escalated further and got the attention of human authorities. Their scent is a bit off. I commented. Yes, they smell similar to those women. I can bet these abominations have been genetically engineered. Daniel replied, grimly. Different rogue wars had banded together under some crazy fellow, who dared to attack alpha females. At least the Alpha Council is now convinced about your claim. These rogues are just like the abominations other alphas encountered. Daniel added. He was also shaken by the attack on my sister and his mate, Lenora. She was attacked while on a run. Fortunately, she wasn't alone, and my sister is a tough fighter. There were no new killings of humans that we knew of. Do you presume their leader did all that in the beginning to get the attention of the Alpha Council, get us off the track, then attack our mates? I asked. He probably thought that capturing alpha females was an easy game. I am glad it isn't, Daniel said angrily. The other alphas were now busy interrogating their own captured rogues. Although the task force met to share all information they extracted, they were not any closer to discovering the rogues' lair. I believed that they were not holed up in only one spot. They kept several hiding places. Finding one would be a great break in our investigation, and put us a step closer to finding the identity of our nemesis. Call me if they disclose anything useful, Daniel said and turned back in disgust. I have had enough of their torture, so I followed him out. Have you found an abandoned vehicle near your territory? I asked Daniel as we climbed out of the basement. A vehicle. They must have used some form of vehicle to get onto our land, if not, then they traveled here as wolves. They would have left a scent trail that we could track. Although I don't think they would have traveled as wolves, I am sure you would find an abandoned vehicle within a few miles of your park boundaries. We can trace their owners and maybe find some clue. Good point. I will ask my betas to look for any abandoned vehicle. How are things at your place? Daniel asked. With all the tumult, injured betas, and the interrogations, I forgot to ask about Alice. She is fine, doing better than expected, I suppose. Though, there has been another complication. It may or may not be connected to this. Zayden, my beta's son. He is back. He was present during the attack and saved my mate. Daniel stopped walking and faced me with a horrified expression. Yeah, it's complicated. Anyway, forget about it. Where is Lenora? I will leave once I have met her. Alice. I stood and watched. A few members of the pack paraded past us, inspecting the new person sitting in the kitchen dining room. Several females seemed very excited to see the new wolf and checked out the tall blonde boy sitting by himself. I had to laugh internally at that. It seemed pack life was already looking up for Zayden. He had been released from the clinic and I had to decide where to put him, without endangering his and the pack's safety. Zayden, I called, where are you spending the night? He can stay with me and Dallas, we have a spare room, Catherine said, smiling at Zayden. It's been a long time since I saw you, Aunt Catherine. I missed you. Zayden said softly. I missed you too, Zayden. Catherine smiled back at him while putting the salad on his plate. And I missed your food as well. Zayden excitedly grabbed many fried chicken pieces from the platter. You know you will have to face the official interrogation. I have no idea how bad that's going to be, I said while exchanging a concerned look with Catherine. It's fine. I have nothing to hide, and I am used to getting beaten up, he shrugged casually. What? I gasped. Catherine was equally appalled. Zayden stopped eating and looked at us. Don't worry, I just meant that I am used to violence. I am a beta, after all. He grinned at me. I felt he was lying. We shifted topics and Zayden explained how he wanted to become a doctor, and hoped that the Crimson Shadow Pack would help him in becoming one. Overall, he seemed to be a harmless young wolf. I began to wonder if Killian and Xena were indeed his real parents. Alice, what's going on? Are you okay? Where are you? Lucian spoke through my mental link. Lucian, are you back? I'm just fine, having lunch with Catherine. What's wrong? I said, trying to calm my growling mate. I can sense you, Alice. I felt your fear, he responded. It was just in a bit of a shock. I am fine and following all the safety rules. Where are you? I'll come to you, he said hastily. It wasn't long before Lucian strode through the huge dining room. There was sudden panic and all heads turned towards him, then bowed down. It was apparent that he was in a bad mood and no one wanted to get on his bad side. Zayden was suddenly grabbed and hauled up by Lucian. Why are you here with my mate? Lucian growled. His face was red with fury. Lucian, stop. I was holding his arm, begging him to free Zayden. It's not his fault, I asked him to have lunch with us. Please, let him go. Lucian stared at me for a moment, and I glared back at him. He straightened his shoulders and, to my surprise, left Zayden's neck. Alpha, it's an honor. Zayden started to say. We are going for the interrogation now. Lucian growled, then gestured at Damon. Damon and other betas grabbed Zayden by his arm. Wait, where are you taking him? I asked, panicked. To the basement, of course. A conference room would be appropriate, Alpha Lucian, I told my mate. Don't test my patience, Alice. I will get this information by the quickest means possible, Lucian said stoically, pointing downstairs. I knew what was in the basement. The rooms they used to torture information out of the rogues. He expected to make Zayden talk the same way. That was wrong and I shouted at Lucian. He has saved my life, is that how you plan to repay him? That is yet to be determined. The conference rooms will work just as well, Alpha Lucian. I cannot let you do what you are thinking, I said, getting right in front of Lucian. I could not, in good conscience, allow him to torture someone who had saved my life. It wasn't right, and he'd not be happy with himself afterwards. His behavior immediately was so out of character. Whatever his reasons, I refused to let him make a mistake he would regret. Are you challenging me, mate? Lucian asked, looking down at me. I have no desire to fight you. I only request we do this in the conference room, please. I answered calmly. Please Lucian, I sent into his mind and his green eyes bore into me. Try the conference room. What you are thinking of doing is not right. I said in his mind again. Lucian held my gaze for several moments and then shifted his eyes back to Damon. Take him to the conference room, he commanded. I turned to look at our prisoner. Zayden shuddered visibly and his face was ashen. He knew enough to know what we were discussing. I hoped that my conviction regarding his innocence was right. Alice, the security team, stood casually along the walls of the conference room. They were ready to strike and restrain Zayden if Lucian commanded it. The atmosphere was tense for several moments as everyone arranged themselves. I sat beside Lucian at the head of the room and faced Zayden. He was sitting in a chair, he seemed relaxed and non-resistant. You and me. We need to talk after this, I said in Lucian's mind. I wasn't liking this at all. Sure. That's all, was his curt reply. Okay, let's get over with it. Lucian took the chair opposite Zayden. What were you doing near this pack? He asked. Zayden paused for a moment and the guards started to close in. He spoke before anyone could move on him, though. I wanted to meet, and talk to you. You were not responding to my letters or messages, so I decided to meet you in person. I was walking through the woods when I came upon the attack on Madame Luna. I jumped in to protect her. That's all. I don't believe you. It looks too good to be true. Lucian narrowed his eyes. Zayden took a deep breath and looked at Lucian. I don't have a death wish, Alpha Lucian. You can hurt me all you want, but my statement would remain the same. I'll tell you whatever you want to know, but I don't know how to prove my loyalty. Loyalty? Lucian laughed. Better not discuss loyalty. So, is your Alpha aware of this? Yes, I left the pack, Zayden replied softly. Lucian appraised the boy for a moment. Tell me the entire story and leave nothing out, how you traveled here, he commanded. Zayden narrated his entire journey, he even produced bus tickets which he took when not traveling as a wolf. Lucian got someone working on verifying the information Zayden provided. Then he turned back to Zayden. Now coming to the second part. Why did you want to meet me? I want to join the Crimson Shadow Pack because this is where I belong, Zayden said flatly. I had refused your request, so I don't understand why you still bothered to come all the way here, Lucian said dismissively. Lucian was getting on my nerves. I didn't understand why he was being so mean to Zayden. I know, but please hear me out. I know you don't like me, because of my parents were assholes. Lucian and I both looked at Zayden appalled. They betrayed you, tried to kill you and take over the pack. They got what they deserved. I am sorry about what you had to go through, but how is all that my fault? Keep talking, Lucian ordered Zayden, running a hand through his hair. I want to return and pay for the damage my parents did. My granny is dead, and there is nowhere else for me to go. He mumbled. I felt a surge of pity for the boy. What do you mean? What's wrong with your pack? Lucian was irritated. I can't live there, I want to go to college and become a doctor, Zayden said. So, what's stopping you? Alpha Joseph won't support me. They don't like me there. Lucian considered him for several seconds. I will verify your claims and have a chat with Joseph. Anyway, coming back to your claim, you stated, it wasn't your fault. Why do you want to redeem for your parents' sins? Do you think I am here for revenge, Alpha Lucian? Zayden asked a counter-question. The room stood in stunned silence. Lucian was speechless, which was a rare occurrence. I have no such intentions. I am ready to go through whatever torture you seem fit to extract the truth. My answer would always be the same. I don't hate you, boy, and I have no intentions of torturing you, as some people might believe. Lucian looked pointedly at me. But as the Alpha, I must ensure the safety of the pack, as well as those who are seeking admission. I am open to accepting those who seek sanctuary, but only after ensuring they would fit in with the pack. Forcing someone on my pack members will lead to resentment and disagreements within the people. It will also be dangerous for you." Lucian paused. Most pack members have not forgotten the dark days under Beta Killian. They would rip you apart if they know your identity. I am just trying to protect you. But they wouldn't do so if you accept him in the pack, and forgive him openly. I interrupted, earning a warning look from Lucian. You had forgiven the family of those rogues, the pack accepted them, why can't you do the same for Zayden? I continued. The whole security team was staring at our confrontation now. I heard several gasps when I disagreed with Lucian. He noted it too, and his beast rose further to the surface. I had inadvertently and openly challenged him in front of his men. Why are you so taken by him? Lucian's voice boomed in my mind, while we eyed each other. I just pity the boy, he has been through a lot, and I believe he had some horrible experience in his previous pack, hence the reason for his escape. I want to help him, that's all. I replied. Is that all? Lucian asked again. Are you jealous, Lucian? I agree, he is a pretty good specimen of the male gender. However, my heart, soul, and body belong to you. I can even prove it later in the bedroom. I spoke in his mind. Lucian's lips twitched at my words. Keeping a straight face, he said. All right, you can stay. However, you would remain under watch, until your claims are verified. You are restricted from visiting certain areas of the pack. Where are you staying? Catherine, she has offered me a room in her house, Zayden said, with an excited look. Perfect, Dallas would keep an eye on you. Take this as your trial period. Once you have proven that you can be a valued member of this pack, I will formally introduce you to everyone. Is that clear? Thank you, Zayden smiled, nodding to Lucian and then looking at me. Lucian's reaction was so odd. I couldn't quite wrap my brain around it. He didn't seem at all upset as he sat and talked through everything, he seemed scared. So, are you mad at me? I asked as we left the conference room. Now that Zayden was safe, I could focus on other things. We both were used to doing things our way. Neither of us was particularly talented at listening to the other. If we couldn't overcome this hurdle, our relationship would be very rocky. Healthy relationships are full of compromise, I knew that. It wasn't that I didn't want to listen to him. I just wanted him to consider my opinions. No, Lucian replied, looking down at me. Then why are you upset? Did you think I was going to torture that boy? He asked suddenly. I bit my lips. Was I too harsh on Lucian? Yes, though I regret it now. He watched me for a minute, looking tense before he saw the confusion on my face. I didn't want to be harsh on him, but a lot is going on in my head. He said, running his hand through his hair. I rose on tiptoes to kiss his lips. I swore to myself I wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Next time, I would go slow and talk to him about our decisions. I know, love, I know you are stressed out over those attacks, the impending danger. I can understand. Would you like to discuss it? Let's go home, love. I will update you. He replied, grabbing my hand. I sat on his lap and watched the myriad emotions in his as he narrated everything that happened in the Reds pack. They didn't reveal anything despite all the torture. I asked appalled. Nothing at all, he said, eyes glowing with anger. They suffered hours of pain, yet nothing. Daniel won't give up though, he has several torture methods up his sleeves, which he would use with all pleasure. They deserve much more for attacking my family. Lucian said. I am sorry, you must be distressed, I said, nuzzling and kissing on his jaws. His body reacted to my touch, and he grabbed my face, pulling me close for a kiss. I would like to make love to you, he said quietly. I wanted some physical comfort as well. I leaned forward to kiss him. He didn't give me any respite as his mouth came down over mine in a bruising kiss. I felt myself being lifted then lowered on the bed, our lips didn't stop wrestling with each other all this while. His mouth found my neck and I knew he was leaving marks anywhere he could reach, sucking and biting under my ear down to his bite mark. I felt him pushing up my t-shirt. We got apart only for getting rid of our clothes. Things would have continued to heat until we were interrupted by his phone call. Lucian, your phone, I whispered. Ignore it, he said. It might be important, love, I said, pulling his face up to look at me. He groaned and grabbed the phone. This better be important. He commanded into the phone, while I sat up and leaned against the headboard. What? He almost shouted, all right, I'll be there. He cut the call, then rubbed his temple. What happened? I asked. They found 2 more bodies, but one of the girls is alive, though she is critical. Damon is bringing her to the infirmary. He replied. Lucian here, put her in this bed. Dr. Armand urged Damon, who was holding the unconscious girl. Damon gingerly laid her down on the pristine white sheets covering the narrow hospital bed. I looked down at her frail, battered body. She was barely out of her teens. She smelled off, similar to those rogues. My wolf Jake was on the edge. Dr. Armand took his stethoscope and listened to her heart and lungs. Where did you find her? I asked Damon. Armand nodded briefly at the nurse who slid next to him to assist with the girl. We found her near the edge of the shipyard. We almost missed her. She was almost dead. She smelled odd. I thought she was also dead, like the other girl. But she was breathing and there was a weak pulse. I thought it was best to bring her here to get medical attention. Damon explained. Armand motioned for the nurse to take the girl's blood pressure while he inspected the bruises, cuts, and contusions covering her body. She was badly beaten. I am surprised how she survived the ordeal. Nodding my head, I kept my gaze on the girl on the bed. She looked starved. Gashes and bruises covered her from head to toe. I would not be surprised if we were to later find out that she was also violated. Only the most vicious of creatures could do something like this. True monsters who didn't have any conscience or shred of humanity. I assumed so. She also smells off. Sniffing delicately, Armand could detect a tang of something unidentifiable in the girl's system. I know what you mean. She has been changed, just like those rogues. We'll clean her up and treat her injuries. When she regains consciousness, I'll let you know. I nodded again and left the room along with my betas. Alpha, Do you think she might be the clue we have been looking for? She could shed light on the mystery of this rogue gang. Damon asked. That's a possibility. What do we know of this girl? Nothing. She was covered in bruises. No identification or possessions were found near her. I've already asked to have her prints run in the police database, and also check her likeness in any missing person cases. Good. Let me know when she wakes up. She might be crucial in finding those rogues, so keep her protected. Deploy a few guards around her room. Sure, Alpha, Damon responded. I left the hospital. I had so many excitements in a single day. I badly needed my mate. Alice seeing his mood. I assumed things were fine at the hospital and didn't ask any questions about that mysterious girl, or the rogues. I felt the cool wind touch my flesh and realized with surprise that he had stripped off my robe, which I had slept in. How he managed to do it without waking me up was a wonder. Why don't you wake me up like this every day? I mumbled. I will from now on, he replied, chuckling. He was frustratingly slow, so I grasped blindly for his hand to direct it toward my soaked slit. He laughed and nipped on my neck. I moaned breathlessly as the sensation of his teeth heightened the pleasure coursing through. Holding on to his massive shoulders, I bent and retaliated by nipping sharply at the lobe of his ear. Not fair, I murmured. You are killing me. I don't think so, babe. If anyone is dying here, then it's me. He said, rubbing his turgid rod on my thighs. What's stopping you, then? I asked teasingly. I'm willing and ready. Oh yeah, I love the smell of your desire. It's ambrosia for me. He inserted one finger into my cavern. His ministrations were such a turn-on for me that I couldn't stop writhing in pleasure. Satisfied at his handiwork, he bent his head and ravished my mouth. Our tongues thrust and parried, eating each other's mouths with such hunger that our teeth sometimes clicked together. His groan reverberated between us. I dug my fingers at Lucian's back as I clawed in mounting excitement. I wanted to feel his invasion. My wolf was itching to jump out. Scenting my intense arousal, he pushed my legs open with his knee. He then settled between my legs and let his huge shaft inside. You are so beautiful, he rasped, his emerald gaze locked with my droopy eyes. Moaning as he rubbed against me, I planted my feet flat on the blanket and pushed my hips to keep the pressure on them. Yes! I cried, wrapping my legs around his waist. Closing my eyes tightly, I squeezed him hard with my arms and legs. The blissful sensations coursing through my body was pushing me rapidly towards the goal. Then, with a pleased smile, I wrapped my arms around his shoulder and ordered, now. With a grunt, he pushed in all the way. He did not stop at that. Sealing my mouth with his, he proceeded to pound into me as I demanded, hammering relentlessly into my willing body. The shared groans and moans of our connected mouths were resonating in our room. I shattered in his arms. I pulled my mouth away and panted for breath. He wasn't done yet. I stopped counting how many I already had. They washed over me in a continuous stream. I vaguely heard his indistinct roar. The sensation was almost too much, and before too long I was panting hard and raking my nails on Lucian's back. His muscles rippled under my hands with each thrust. Running my hands on my mate's muscled back, I savored the feeling of his smooth skin. Smooth as silk and hard as tempered steel. Lowering his lips down to my neck, he swiped at his mate mark and sucked hard on it. He continued to rain kisses along my neck and jaw. Finally, with one mighty heave of his hips, he buried himself deep inside me, and with a roar emptied himself in my receptive body. I shattered and screamed aloud. My body twitched uncontrollably. I was in the grip of the most powerful of climaxes yet, which seemed unending as Lucian continued to piston his powerful hips. And for that moment, I was happy and everything was right in the world, even though it wasn't so. Kissing my forehead, he nudged my head to lay on his shoulder. With a sigh, I laid my head in the crook of his neck and inhaled his heady musk. "You needed that, isn't it?" I whispered. "Badly. I had a lousy day," he replied, pushing aside my sweaty hair from my face. "Do you want to discuss it?" I asked, grazing his hard pectoral. "I have no idea whom we are facing." He sounded frustrated. "And I am scared." He had never confessed to being scared before. It wasn't a very alpha thing to say. Looking out from the window, I noticed the gathering darkness in the sky, indicating a coming storm. "You have me, you know." I smiled, trying to lighten the mood. "I will never stop feeling protective of you. It's an alpha thing, and I believe we have found a vital clue. This girl we found. Gosh! I can't explain how badly battered she is. I hope she survives and gives us the information we have been looking for. Should I talk to her when she is ready? No offense, but you and your betas are quite intimidating even to burly men. A girl like her would be scared out of her wits." "That's a good plan." Lucian agreed, and we planned the next course of action and security measures. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.